Alright, so it's the big one. The Dubai World Cup happening on Saturday night, Sunday morning if you're in Australia. But it's one of the big meetings of the year. A very international meeting with horses from Japan, America, Europe, all over the place. Although this year, I would say the meeting has a bit of an asterisk on it. Obviously with the situation going on over there, like a lot of the top horses in the market for these races didn't fly over, which is a fully respectable decision. Keeping the horses' well-being as a priority, which is good to see. Not saying that the horses that have gone up, the owners aren't doing that, but it's I guess it's just up to the owners really. So yeah, it should be a good meeting. Although apparently there's a lot of rain forecasted. I think like 70 mils is forecasted for Friday, so that might make things a little bit interesting and might throw my tips off a little bit if we do get a bit of a wet track. But apparently Maidan's draining system is quite good. I think in 2017 or 2018 they had a lot of rain before the World Cup and it was fine. So it'd be interesting to see how it holds up. Anyway, so first race, the Godolphin Mile, Group 2 on the dirt. This is a culmination of horses that have been running really well over the Dubai Carnival, and the 2,000 metres in the World Cup might have been a bit far for them, so they're dropping back to a mile, or horses that are kind of progressing. They might have run in Saudi, those sorts of horses. So we'll have a quick look. We got Commissioner King as the favourite. He's drawn barrier 1, which is a bit ick for me. But he was a good 3-year-old, this horse. He won the Saudi Derby, and he's really come into his own later in his career as a 6-year-old. And one last start seems like a pretty bulletproof miler. But that barrier 1's just a bit of a problem for me. You got Mendelssohn Bay, who's usually quite consistent, although they tried stepping him up last time to 2,000 metres and it didn't work at all. And now he's dropping back to a mile. I never like it when horses go from 2,000 metres to a mile, even if a mile's their best distance. I just think it's a bit of a shock to the system almost. So yeah, I kind of Mendelssohn Bay, although he's a very good horse at this distance. You got Banishing, who does hold some good like US stats. Like he's a good American horse, although he ran in the Saudi Cup last start. Now he's dropping back to a mile. There's a few question marks with him, I think. Generous Tipper's another one of those okay horses. Obviously Watney known they're going to have a massive fleet of horses running at the Dubai World Cup, so it'll be interesting to see if they can get off the mark, and I think they will. Not with Generous Tipper, but David of Athens. He was a good American horse, good miler, and since he's come here, I think he's unbeaten. He's 2 from 2. He won a listed race at Jebel Ali last start. James Doyle's picked him out of the 3 here. I think he's a really good chance in this race. I think, as I said before, the horses at the top, have a few vulnerabilities. And I think David of Athens is a really good each way play at 14-1. If you look further down, you've just got more of these sort of horses where the Godolphin Mile is kind of their grand final, like Telemark, Hypnos, Diamond Dealer. It's the last man. They got to get their final run out, I guess, and this is the race for them. The Camden Colt, to be fair, is quite interesting. He ran. I think he was beaten a long way, but I think it was a Group 3 that he came second in last time, and obviously Ryan Moore booked is a massive positive. But yeah, it should be a good, interesting opening race to World Cup night, and I think David of Athens is the one to be on here. I think he's quite progressive. His 4 is one of the younger horses in the field, a lot of 5 and 6-year-olds. So yeah, I think he's a good shout for the Godolphin Mile, David of Athens. All right, we'll go to the next race. All right, so we've got the 2-mile Dubai Gold Cup for the stayers. It's a field mainly European horses. We've seen Japanese horses come here in the past, but yeah, obviously, as I said before, a lot of the Japanese contingent didn't fly out. So we'll have a quick look. Al Riffa, 4th last start in the Hong Kong Vase, and then prior to that, he ran in the Melbourne Cup from top weight, carrying a lot of weight, and it didn't go too well. But I think he's a rightful favourite here. He's definitely the classiest horse here. But I also think the 2 miles, I don't think that's his trip. I think his trip's more like a mile and a half up to like 2,800 metres, as we saw him last season, winning the Irish St Ledger. I don't know. I think 2 miles might stretch him a little bit. Then you have Sons and Lovers, who was a surprise winner of the Red Sea Turf handicap in Riyadh last start. I don't love that form either. It's handicap into set weights. I don't like, unless they were carrying top weight in the handicap, then I can look at it a bit closer. I think Al Nayyir is really interesting. This horse loves Dubai. He always runs a big race. I believe 2 years ago he got pipped by Tower of London in this race. Speaking of Tower of London, I thought he was going to be running here, but I digress. I think Al Nayyir's a good chance here. I think he's better than Sunway. Ross Orion's a massive positive. He'll probably be one of my bets here, I think, Al Nayyir. And yeah, 2 miles is really sort of his trip. We've seen him do quite well over this distance in the past. I believe it might have been like 2 years ago, or like a year and a half ago, he ran second to Vauban. Or like he ran second to one of those horses. I think it was like a Lonsdale Cup or something at Doncaster. Something like that. I don't know why I remember this, but it was a massive price at the time. And as I said before, Sunway, he had that win in his first start at Maiden, and it was a weird race. I think Sylvester kind of just won it from the front, and he caught the other jockeys lacking a little bit. And then obviously Al Nayyir got the better of him last time. You've got Cabello de Mar, who I think might need some juice in the ground. He was seen, he ran in those 2 French Group ones. He won the Prix du Cadran over 4,000 metres at Longchamp, which is a massive effort. But I think, first up, he might do better with a bit of juice in the ground, which, to be fair, he might get with the rain. But, if Maidan's mythical draining system is that good, it might still be good to firm or good to soft. So I'm moving on to Dubai Future, who won the race last year. But, he's a 10-year-old. Like, if I'm betting on a 10-year-old and it doesn't place, like, I just feel disgusting. Like, the writing's on the wall. It's fucking 10 years old. So, although I do give a bit of an allowance to the older horses in staying races because they're often a lot more battle tested and have that residual fitness. Now, Epic Poet is very interesting to me. The pace of the race last time in Riyadh was just completely not in his favour. He needs a strong run race to come from the back. And they absolutely walked. Ryan Moore ruined the race with Tennessee Stud going to the front and putting the handbrake on. It was a really weird race, that. So I'm happy to forgive him last start. And I think here, if one of these sort of bolters at the bottom goes hard, like Burdett Road, he normally goes pretty hard. He pulls a bit in his races. I think if they go a bit quick, I think Epic Poet could come flying home. He came second here last year. So I think Epic. Sorry, I can't fucking talk. Epic Poet and Al Nayyir are the horses here that I'd want to be on. You got Fairy Glen who can stay. She won last start over 1,800 metres. But I don't love that as a setup going from 1,800 up to 2 miles. Not great. So yeah, I think Epic Poet and Al Nayyir are the 2 to be on there. I've spent way too long in this race. We'll move on. The next one is the UAE Derby. This is a really good race. I think the winner of this will probably look towards a Kentucky Derby. Obviously maybe not the Middle Eastern horses, but horses like Pyromancer, Devon Island, Brotherly Love. If they win here, they'll be going to Kentucky, I'd imagine. So Pyromancer, interesting horse, good Japanese dirt form. Drawn barrier 9, and I think he's a bit of a hothead. I've seen some of his videos of him training this week, and he seems like a bit of a crackhead. So probably look away from him. 6 Speed is a really talented horse. I was on him last start when he won the UAE 2000 Guineas. He won it so impressively, I thought. But, he's going to be on the speed. He's up in trip. And I think Bupart Seema said, like, in an interview the other week, or no, it was around his last start, that he is more of a miler. So I think this trip will really test him out. Although, if Mikhail Barcelona can get him to relax, he'll be very interesting in the finish if he can keep kicking. Saloom's very interesting, but for me, there's too many unknowns. He was meant to have another start, but he's too much of a crackhead in the stalls to warrant betting on, I think. Obviously, he got scratched last time, so look away from him, although he's awfully talented, Saloom. Devon Island, this is one that I like. Obviously, one for Charlie Appleby. He hasn't had much success with the dirt horses, in recent years, but I think this could be a serious horse. His run last start in the UAE 2000 Guineas suggested to me that he needs 2,000 metres. He needs further. He's going to keep plugging away. He's definitely going to be in the finish here, I think. Drawn barrier 7-2, so he should stay out of a lot of trouble. Lab was the only filly in the field. It's just going to be a massive ask for her. She's been cleaning up the filly dirt divisions this season, but this is just going to be a bridge too far, I think. Wonder Dean's kind of interesting, but I don't think he's going to be good enough. Christian Jamiro's a good jockey booking, but I think there's better horses here. Brotherly Love drawn from barrier 11 just stinks to high heaven, to be honest. Lena Pedrino, I think he might be a South American horse. Actually, I don't know, to be honest. I think if he was, he'd be carrying more weight. But he's going alright. But barrier 1 just seems very difficult. Now, Union Security is an awfully big price, 66-1. And I'm kind of leaning towards that UAE 2000 Guineas form being the best form here, to be honest. He went to Saudi for the Saudi Derby last start, and he didn't really fire. But I think the travelling, and I think a mile, might be a bit on the sharp side for him. I think the step up to 1900 is going to be really good. Same thing with Devon. I think he's just going to keep plugging away. And I'm happily going to tip Union Security at 66-1 because that just seems way too big. Like, if you look at the other horse that's that price, this is a French horse that ran at Cagnes-sur-Mer last start in some all-weather race, I think. So Union Security is just infinitely better than the same horses at his price. And I think, it's definitely worth a pop at that price at 66s. But this is one of the races I'm more excited for on this card. It's very competitive. Right, moving to the next race. The Quoz Sprint, 1,200 metres on the turf. Great race. Well, it's good. I mean, there's been better editions of it in the past, but, Lazat's the favourite here. Refrunner comes from the same form line that 1351 Sprint at Riyadh last start. As I said before, I don't really like backing horses going down in distance, so kind of looking away from that race as a form line. Rayevka's pretty good. She ran quite well in the Commonwealth Cup, I think, last year. And then there's Lugal, which is a Japanese horse. It's kind of a weird race, to be honest. You got Cardim showing up, who's 10 years old. Bro, put the fucking fries in the bag. No, I'm kidding. Cardim's a good horse, but 10-year-old, what are we doing? Northern Champion's flying at the moment, but he's 3 years old. I think this is a bridge too far, as we saw with West Acre last year. He was a flying 3-year-old, and this race was just too much for him. Cover Up's pretty interesting, although I think he's a 5 furlong horse. I think there's not many 5 furlong options during the Dubai Carnival, and I think you kind of you've got to go for 1,200 metres despite that distance not being their ideal trip. So kind of looking away from him. I'm actually going to have a bet on Native Approach. I think a few years back, a horse called like Danya or something won, or some Dubai trained horse. I think it was a Shadwell horse won it. So Dubai trained horses can win this. Obviously, he won last start at an enormous price, but he's kind of the one that ticks all the boxes. 1,200 metres seems like a good distance for him. I know there was a big track bias last start, but you'd have to think the workers at the track would have fixed it up in between now and then. I don't know. I think it's a good each way play, Native Approach. And Connor Beasley, he had a massive price winner here last year with Dark Saffron in the Shaheen. So, he's a very good jockey. He really comes alive in Dubai. He's one of those jockeys that I wish had more opportunities in the UK because I think he's very good. I think Native Approach, I'm just going to keep it simple. Native Approach, just one bet here. Lazat and Refrunner might just go 1-2 here, but I'm going to have an each way play on Native Approach, I think. Move on to the next one. Right, the Dubai Golden Shaheen, 1,200 metres on the dirt. Really, really good race. I think Bentornato just rolls here, though. I just get that vibe. Jose Ortiz flies out for this ride. It's one of his signature rides here is riding Magnitude in the World Cup. I think he just wins here. He's a beautiful big horse. I think he's 17 hands. So I think he's just going to be too good. Although there is some other good horses here like El Nasib, who's been a real revelation during this Dubai Carnival. He had that 2 starts back, which was very bizarre, but he won last start. Although my issue here is he draws barrier 1. He's going to have to go back. He's going to get a lot of kickback in his face. I think it's going to be too hard for him to get clear air from that draw. You got Midland Money, who I think came second in the Malibu Stakes, which is a Group 1 in America. I think it's 1,400 metres, so, he's dropping back in troop. First up for Michael Costa, who's going to be ending his run with that, his run in Dubai, I think, at the end of this season. So good to see him have a runner in the Group 1, but I think there's better horses to be on here. Then you got Tuz, who's 9 years old. Came fifth last start, barrier 9 here. I think it's going to be too much. But, on his day, he's a champion. He won the race, I think, 2 years back. Maybe should have won it last year, but, he's 9 years old. Come on, there's younger horses here that you can be on. Mufasa is very interesting. I think if Bentornato wasn't here, I'd be on Mufasa, but I think, as I said before, I think the favourite's going to be too good. Then you look at a few others here, like American Stage, who, goes alright, but he's not going as good as he was going last year, per se. Then you got Dark Saffron, who has looked very average this year, but, there were signs of life last start, I thought. And then Lovesick Blues, this is interesting because the trainer's like some movie director, and so it's kind of like good PR for horse racing, I guess. But they've got a proper jockey on this time. His last 2 starts, he's had this bloke on who's literally dropped the horse out the back of the fucking TV, and then it comes flying home down the outside. Like, if he was just dropped into the race, maybe 10 lengths closer, it probably would have won. So, got an actual competent jockey on this time. Wouldn't be surprised at all if he ran a massive race. Lovesick Blues. He's a beautiful grey horse. So hopefully he goes well. And then Drew's Gold, who won last start's a non-runner. So I think Bentornato rolls, but Mufasa will run a big race and Lovesick Blues will run a big race. The latter especially, he will get a better ride, because I could have ridden it better this start than whatever the other bloke was doing. So, and I'm not even that critical on jockeys, but it was just embarrassing, like what the last bloke did. I don't know what his fucking name is. Alright, so Dubai Turf, usually a very competitive race, but to be honest, this year it's not, for obvious reasons. Ombudsman's going to start really short price favourite here, and deservedly so. He holds some of the best middle distance form in Europe, won the Prince of Wales Stakes, won the Juddmonte International. These horses normally get saved for, these sorts of races this year, but, they're going to go to Dubai Turf. John Gosden said in an interview that this was the target since October, which makes sense. Although for me, I think 1800 is kind of a bit short for him. I thought he'd go to the Sheema Classic. With Rebels Romance not going there, I thought he would have gone there. But it is what it is. It'll be a no bet race for me. But Ombudsman should probably win. I think Factor Cheval's won the race 2 years ago, but I don't think he's the same horse. Gaia Force is pretty interesting. He holds some very elite Japanese mile form, so I think he's a bit of a crackhead too. So I think if Ryuzi Saka can keep a lid on it, I think he can run a big race. Kudwa's absolutely flying at the moment. Like last season, I was under the impression that he was more of a soft track sort of horse, but for whatever reason, he's really enjoyed Dubai this year. Won a Group 2 last start. Ryan Moore retains the ride. He can run a big race. And then some of these others are kind of really stretching for this. I think if it was a stronger race, they wouldn't have gone for it. But obviously, with a lot of the internationals abandoning their plans, they're going to have a crack. Especially Dividend, he's more of a handicap horse. And now, fair play to Richard Newland and Jamie Insole, who they're a dual-purpose yard in England, but they're having a real crack here with Dividend in the Dubai Turf. So, fair play to them. But yeah, I think Ombudsman should win, but wouldn't surprise me if Gaia Force or Kudwa won. As I said, no bets here. It's just we'll just watch the class act run, I guess. All right, we'll move on to the penultimate race of the meeting. Similar to the last race, it's kind of thinned out without the internationals. The Longines Dubai Sheema Classic, 2,400 metres, worth an absolute fortune, £2.5 million pounds to the winner. Crazy prize money. But obviously the world's best racehorse is running here. Or one of, he's in the conversation. Kalandagan won the Japan Cup last start. He's the first foreign trained horse to win the race since, I think, 2005. So, he's absolutely at the peak of his powers at the moment. Ethical Diamond won the Breeders' Cup Turf at a massive price last start. If he was to win here, they'd have to go absolutely clappers up the front. which seems unlikely. Although there's two Godolphin horses here. You'd think maybe one of them might put the foot down. So if one of them does put the foot down, it makes it interesting for a horse like Ethical Diamond. But if they go at a real snail's pace and make it a sprint, Clan if Mikhail Barcelona uses some initiative, he'll just get going at like the 800 and just cruise home, I think. Then you got a horse like West Wind Blows, who's been fantastic. He's been around at the top level for a very long time. He's been all over the world. He's running in Australia. Now he's running Dubai. He's a real globetrotter, but I think this will be too much for him at the ripe old age of 7 years old. Same with Giavolotto. He ran very well last start in the Hong Kong Vase. Oh no, sorry, he went to Qatar, didn't he? Sorry, yeah, 2 starts back he ran in the Hong Kong Vase, but I think it's just going to be watching here. I hope Calandigan wins. He's a legend of a horse. And yeah, there's not a great deal to say about that race. All right, the big one. Kind of similar to the last few. There's not a great deal to talk about. Forever Young. Firstly, what a horse. I remember him as a 3-year-old 2 years ago. He was running in the UAE Derby, the Saudi Derby, and he was getting these like atrocious runs, like drawing really, really bad draws, just punching the breeze the whole way around and still winning. So I kind of suspected then that he was going to be this insanely just generational horse. I hope he wins. He had a very easy run last start, I thought. I thought Nisos, ran a great race, but I thought it was a little bit arrogant, I thought, by Ryuzi Sakai in that race. Like the way he nursed him up the inside, I thought, he's such a good horse, Forever Young. I'm super pleased with how Maidan's gone in Dubai as well. He ran in the Melbourne Cup and now he's, running in the biggest dirt race in the world. So just a really, really cool transition for him. I think Forever Young will be too good, but I hope Maidan makes up the placings because, he's got a massive future on that surface going forward, I think. Magnitude is the best of the American contingent, but I don't think he's that good. He's won very well, but he didn't run in the Breeders' Cup Classic. I want some really elite American form. And then you got a few others here, like Imperial Emperor. He's having another crack. I think something happened last year. He ran last. I think probably came to the end of a long season, and I think they've taken their time with him a bit this year. Then you got Hitcho, won it last year. And then Walk of Stars, he's getting on a bit, but he can run a big race. And Tumbarumba as well, he came third in the Saudi Cup last start, so there's some good horses here. Heart of Honour, I couldn't back that with stolen money, to be honest. It'll be a good race, but I think I'm just going to watch this. I hope Forever Young does it. He'll be the first horse to do the Saudi Cup and Dubai World Cup double, so this will etch his name in history. And winning the Breeders' Cup Classic as well, no horse will do that for a very long time, so yeah, it'll just be a sit and watch for me in the Dubai World Cup. But yeah, it's a great meeting, very international meeting, and I'm very much looking forward to it. And then obviously on the Saturday we got Australian racing too, plenty of Group 1s. So yeah, good weekend of racing all around. If you like this sort of thing, just like and subscribe, leave a comment, follow me on Twitter, that type of thing, and I'll see you later.